Welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches making the big time where they're at. Today, our host, Coach Preston Peterson, interviews a high school strength coach who is creating a big time strength conditioning experience for their student athletes. Today's episode is sponsored by TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr provides strength conditioning software to athletics programs around the country. Whether you write your own programs or want access to over 100 templates, TeamBuildr can make your program more efficient, more accountable, and smarter when it comes to measuring your team's effort in the weight room. Visit their website and start a 14-day free trial at teambuildr.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Athletes train hard to play at the highest level, and all that hard work raises the need for muscle recovery. Optimum Nutrition's athletic program has industry-leading products that can help. Protein is the key to muscle recovery, and Gold Standard 100% Whey, the world's best-selling whey protein powder, provides 24 grams of protein that mixes easily using just a glass and a spoon. Gold Standard 100% Whey is made in Optimum Nutrition state-of-the-art facilities in Aurora, Illinois, and is banned substance tested by Informed Choice. Through Optimum Nutrition's athletic program, you can also get Pro Gainer for athletes looking to become bigger and ready to eat protein snacks, including protein crisp bars, cake bites, protein wafers, and protein almonds. After dominating the sport nutrition industry for over 30 years, newly created Optimum Nutrition Athletics brings the same trust and quality that knows how to put convenient options for protein in the hands of athletes who desire to become bigger, stronger, and better at their sport. Welcome to another week of the Big Time Strength Podcast. This week we get to have an awesome guest on with us. Coach Spray is in Tennessee right now. He's got an extensive background, and there is a ton of information that can be learned from this guy. If you check him out, you do a quick search. He's been on multiple podcasts. The one that was recommended from me, my buddy Gage, the other co-host, he says, hey, we have to have this guy on. He had just listened to the Barbell Life podcast and said, hey, this guy is for real. And I was excited, and I hope listeners will reach out, talk to him, see what he's got going on, see if there's anything that they can gain and add to their program. So please welcome Coach Spray on. Coach Spray, what are you doing right now? Where are you at? What are you up to? What's kind of your background?
Well, currently I am at Ensworth High School. It's a prestigious high school in Nashville, Tennessee. We have around 400 to 500 students. Before I started there back in May. Before that, I was previously at Middle Tennessee State University for the last 16 years. That's where I cut my teeth. That's where I actually played football. I graduated with my undergrad in 2002. Did a good job as a player. I was always a guy who picked the strength coach's brain, hung out in the weight room. I just loved it. I loved the camaraderie, hanging with everybody. I actually had a career-ending injury, but after, I healed up, they asked me if I wanted to be a part of the staff as a GA. I jumped on that in a heartbeat. I was a GA for a couple years, did a good job at that, had some opportunities to leave, but, when the people at your own home want you to stay home, man, it's sometimes the easiest thing to do. So I stayed at Middle Tennessee. I was hired on full-time in 2005. From 2005 all the way up until 2013-ish, I was the director of men's basketball, and just like most mid-major schools, I was the assistant director with football and helped with every other sport that needed someone to train them. But I will say throughout that time, that's when I learned a ton, working with programs from soccer to softball to volleyball. I was actually able to touch every sport that we had there during that time. And then in 2012, I was hired as the director, and I was the director until I resigned last January, actually. I've been at Ensworth High School now since May.
So you're fresh into the high school level, right? And it's one of those things where I love to hear how coaches are just beginning, right? Just how did you get your start? What's it look like for you starting out your program? And one of the things that would be awesome to hear about is just making that transition into this first semester and then now into the second semester of your first year. And what are some of the things that you're just like, man, these are things that are going well, and maybe some of the challenges that you've had also?
So luckily, with it being a private school, as far as like nutrition and you know, and supplements and that kind of thing, I've been really blessed. I mean, we have more things at this high school than we had when I was at Middle Tennessee State. These kids definitely eat better, just because of the lunchroom and the, you know, and the dietary cafe that we have available. So that's actually been a blessing. Like I've been really impressed with the aspect of that. You know, one of the things when I first got to the high school in May and I started with summer workouts was I don't think I knew it was going to be a little different, but I didn't truly appreciate how underdeveloped their work capacity was going to be. You know, and so the first day, you know, we came in, what we did, it wasn't anything over the top or too strenuous, but, you know, I could just see that they didn't have the same work capacity as the kids that I had in college. Part of that is what I thought to myself, but part of it was, you know, I had to develop these guys to train the way that I wanted them to train. I like the superset. We'll train total body. You know, we try to get after it. We'll spend a good hour in the weight room in the summer before we even go outside and run. But, you know, one of the biggest things that I realized was, when, you know, dealing with the younger athlete was you have to take that time to build the work capacity just to get those guys to kind of do what you want to do.
Coach, what are some of the things that that first summer then you're diving in with all these athletes? What were some of the ways that you started to build up the culture, right? You were introducing yourself to your student athletes and kind of starting out at a time where it might be really tough to get rolling right at the beginning, just because that's a huge training time for high schoolers. You know, like what did it look like for you and just building those relationships and getting everybody on board with what you had for them?
Well, you know, yeah, because we just the school had just hired a new head coach. You know, all of a sudden, like, I'm just there, right? Like, we show up to workouts one day, and it's like, dang, who's this new guy? You know, you got the new strength coach there. You know, the previous strength coach was still on staff, who has been absolutely great. His name is Nick Johnson. He's been, you know, he was phenomenal help getting me to know the kids. You know, he's a younger guy, you know, in his mid-late 20s, you know, but he's been great, you know, helping me get to know the kids, giving me background on the kids. You know, so again, kind of one of the challenges was, you know, the guys were pretty proficient in the clean, you know, but again, like, we had to go back and work on their squats. We had to work on the ability to do, you know, quality push-ups and pull-ups and lunge matrices and that kind of thing. But, you know, the thing that I just wanted those kids to know was they were going to get a top quality training program. We were going to work. We were going to work with a purpose. We were going to work with tempo. We were going to condition, and we were going to play with an edge. And, you know, even back at my time at Middle Tennessee State, you know, like, yeah, there's 100 guys on a roster, but at the mid-major level, there's only certain guys that, you know, there's certain guys that are special guys that if you're going to have a special season, they have to be on the field playing. And, you know, one of those guys was like Kevin Byard, the all-pro safety with the Titans, who I still train and love him to death, like family. You know, Kevin had to play over 1,000 snaps several years for us. You know, and for those guys that do that, you have to be in shape. You have to condition. And, you know, that was one of the things that I made sure these kids understood was my goal is your goal. We want to win championships. We want to win, you know, our conference state championship, and you want to play at the next level in college football. Well, if you're going to do that, you have to be productive. And one way to be productive is you're going to have to accumulate stats. To accumulate stats, you have to be on the field. And to be on the field, you have to be in shape. And that, you know, at Ensworth, you know, we only have about 30, 40 players on our team. You know, we play true Ironman football. So, you know, and we're in the largest classification there is. So our kids don't get the opportunity to really come off the field. So we really have to be in shape. And that was just the point. And that was the, you know, that was just the main point and focus of our off season this past summer.
That's great stuff, Coach. What is some of the things that you did as far as implementing your mission and maybe what do your core values look like? And what did that look like to unravel those out for your guys?
You know, one of the biggest things with, as far as like my principles and concepts is I am an energy coach. I don't like energy leeches. I don't like guys that mope around the weight room. That kind of thing just, you know, kicks me off more than anything. You know, I don't have a lot of rules, you know, but one of my biggest rules is just be on time, communicate, and work hard. You know, if you do those things, man, we can make anything happen in here. You know, I like having fun. We'll crank that music up. You know, me and my staff bring the juice. You know, we have a good time. But, you know, the thing with them is I just wanted them to understand was we're going to be on time. We're going to do things the right way, and you're going to enjoy it, or probably this may not be the place for you. And so that was the biggest thing that we had to do. You know, I wanted to get across early, you know, in the summer, even going through the fall this year and where we are now is the message has kind of been the same. I mean, just we're going to come in, we're going to work hard, you know that, but I want you to have a good time doing it. And, you know, again, I credit my staff because, I mean, they have just as much energy or more than I do. And it's really been a good opportunity, and I've had a good time since I've been here.
It's so awesome and refreshing when you got a coaching staff or people that are helping you out in the weight room, and they're bringing that energy too, right? And when you do that, it's so much easier to get yourself up every single day. And, you know, like obviously the athletes are going to start to reciprocate what the coaching staff is doing. And I love hearing that because one of those deals is like when you raise the bar like that, they're just going to fall in line eventually. And then that becomes the culture. I really enjoy when coaches are able to do that.
I've always been this way. Like, I mean, you know, if any former players, you know, if they hear this episode, they're going to know it. Like, if you don't want to do it, just get out. Mm-hmm. Like, get out of here. You're not going to affect everybody else, you know? Like, because misery loves company, and buddy, I'm not going to allow you to do that. Just get out. Like, I'm not going to sit here and fuss and cuss. Just get out. And that's just the way I've always been, man. If you don't want to work, just get out of here. So,
see, from my perspective, players, student athletes love that because now they know that there's an expectation there. And from every student athlete that I've ever been around, they want somebody to hold them accountable, and they want that level of energy. That's cool stuff to me, Coach.
Absolutely, man. Like, because they know you care, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of these kids, they may not have that at home, right? And that's the thing I've always done. I don't care if you're the starter or the backup or whatever, man. Everybody gets coached the same way. I don't care if my head coach is in the room or if I'm the only one in the room. I don't care if the president of the university was in the room. I coach the same way regardless. And I think when you're genuine that way and you're always holding them at the same standards and you're not changing, I think they look at that as real and they appreciate that, and you'll always get their best effort.
Yeah. They can sniff out a fake pretty quick, right?
No doubt, man. I remember, like, when I was an assistant, man, and, like, I mean, the dude, I got to be careful, but the dude would he would turn it on to a whole nother level, you know, when the head coach would come in. But when the head coach would leave, I mean, he was just a wet fart over there, right? Like, I'm not that way, man. Like, I'm just going to coach it the way, and, you know, like, all I know is one way, and that's, you know, all gas, no brakes. And I'm going to coach you hard, and I'm going to get the most out of you, and I really don't care who's standing there to watch it.
So if you were going to have a player describe what the culture looks like, what would you think they would say? What would their words be for the program that you've established in about a half a year?
I think one thing they appreciate, I mean, if they were going to say, like, spray, don't play. Like, I mean, this is one of the things, like, I mean, again, like, you know, I'm not just a meathead. I mean, I'm not just putting the kids, you know, this is not burying them in the ground. But, I mean, we come in and we work. Like, when they come, they know they're going to leave with covered in sweat, and they're going to know they got work. You know, again, it's not over the top and, you know, just burying kids mindlessly. But, you know, the thing they know when they come to the weight room, they're going to work.
There's no doubt that when that becomes the expectation, they're going to see the results along the way, right? That's what hooks kids, right?
Absolutely, because, I mean, again, man, I just think if they know they're going to work, that's what they come to just expect, you know? And I don't know, man. I've just seen coaches, you know, you go too up and down. If you go too far one way and the workouts aren't tough enough, you know, if you don't hold them accountable, it's too hard to go back, man. So, you know, over my years, I've just been like, you know what, I'm just going to stay the same, you know, and we're just going to go full steam ahead. We're going to get this work, and there's no gray area.
At Ensworth, do you guys have very many multi-sport athletes? What's that look like for, you know, the kids that are in season getting that work in, and then maybe, you know, like they might be rolling from football to basketball to track. What's that look like for that athlete?
Yeah, so that's been the biggest thing, you know, when you're coming from the college ranks to high school is, you know, it makes you really wonder, right? A lot of people say, it, does playing multiple sports make you a better athlete, or I mean, is it the better athlete just plays multiple sports, right? I mean, so, I mean, I think we all know, like, the good athlete walking the hall, every coach in the school is trying to get him to play, right? And so, when you're in the high school level, man, like, your top guys, they're going to play, like you said, they're going to play basketball, they're going to run track. So, even during the summer, that was something that I had to, come to grips with, was I was having to split time, with basketball in the summer with my football guys. There was a 2-week period where I never really saw them. I never saw them from a conditioning or from a speed or agility standpoint. I only saw them in the weight room because we would have them in the morning block, and then they would go to basketball practice in the month of June. And then I didn't, so again, I didn't see them until July. Well, in the state of Tennessee, we have a dead period. The dead period is the last 2 weeks of June and the first 2 weeks of July. Well, the whole month of June, they were doing basketball. So again, I mean, we would lift them. When we were done lifting, they were going to basketball practice. So, some of that, you lose some of that camaraderie, with their teammates, because again, those are your best athletes. They're going to start. I mean, those guys are kind of your bell cow. They're going to carry the load. But, that's when you just try to make sure you work those guys in and blend them in with the rest of the team in the weight room. And, we would really try to, push the tempo on some things, and, with burnout sets and time sets. And that way, at least their teammates got to see them strain and struggle, and be a part of the group. Even though they were working at basketball practice, they still weren't out in the, 80, 100-degree weather, running, conditioning drills, with the rest of their team. So, but as we got into the season, during the football, that is, again, like we talked about earlier, the longest, uninterrupted time of training that you're going to get in the year. And I lifted these kids heavier than I probably did the guys I had when I was in college. We got after it 2 days a week in season, and then they had the third day was a yoga day. And then some days, just with our weird rotation that we have, I would get them a fourth day, but that would be on a Friday. We would maybe just do a couple buys and tries and just foam roll, nothing big. But on Mondays, we would definitely get after it, big cleans, big squats. And I did that just because that was the furthest day away from the game. And then when I got them on their second rotation, I mean, it was big bench, a lot of chin-ups, a lot of volume work for the upper back, some hamstring work. And typically we would throw either a single leg squat variation or a multi-directional lunge on that day. No plyometrics just because, no need. I mean, they're sprinting and jumping and running, out of practice. So you kind of cover your bases with that. But then, when the season was over, there's a 2-week, dead period, and then you could start training them again. But those guys went straight to basketball. So again, we only have 30-ish players on our team, and about 8 of them are playing basketball. And then we have 5 of those guys. The remainder of the football guys are actually on the baseball team. And then the rest will go to track when basketball is over. So, we keep them just kind of on a in-season training program. We go 2 days a week with them guys. Their total body lifts. We try to get a power clean or a hang clean in, some sort of squat pattern. A dumbbell bench press variation one day, a barbell bench press variation the next. We'll try to get a set or two with some high volume push-ups, or maybe we'll even use like a hammer strength plate loaded machine for some volume. We try to keep the volume on the upper body just a little bit to just maintain some muscle mass. The lower body, though, just we have to be smart and, work more strength, not necessarily volume, because we all know volume fatigues, not strength. So, in season with those guys running them down the floor and playing 1,000 minutes and 2 and 3 games a week, we really just try to be smart with how much volume on the lower body through the week. So, again, they would train 2 days, take a day of yoga, and then they would do a game day card that we have out, which was basically just buys, tries, foam rolling, some band work. And then actually in the state of Tennessee, next week they can start practicing baseball. So your spring sports, they can ramp up next week. So those basketball guys will probably, whenever the season's over, maybe get a week or 2, and then they'll go right into track. And then, now you're trying to manage them throughout that season as well. So we really don't have a football group per se in the off-season training. It's only like 4 or 5 guys and we just try to do the best we can with it.
So one of the things that, like as you get further and further into high school athletics and looking at that is like, man, just being able to juggle all those different schedules and being able to make sure that everybody's progressing over the 4 years that you have them. What does your school day look like? Are you training before school, after school? You got it during the day? What's kind of your situation there?
So what we have a unique block system. There's 7 periods, right? And they call it a 7-period rotation. So on Mondays, we see all 7 periods. Then on Tuesday, we actually see 4 of the 7. So just say on Monday, we start at period 1, finish with 7. Tuesdays, you always start with the same class that you started with on Monday. So some weeks you may start with period 4 on Monday, and then you will start with period 4 again on Tuesday. And what you will do is so just say we start at 1 on Monday. Tuesday, you would see 1, 2, and 3. Then there's a break, and then you would have 4, and then there's like an elective type class thing that goes on. Then the very next day, since you ended with 4, you start with 5, and then you rotate through like that. So typically the kids, they get 1 day off a week from fitness. In our school, we have 2 different tracks. There's like an athletic class, like an athletic track, and there's a regular student non-athletic track. And that track is called physical, like physical education. And then the performance track is for our athletes. It's kind of how that looks. And again, at the end of the day, there's an athletic period starts at 3:30. So if you're on a team that's in season, you will go to your sporting team at 3:30. And again, we would have after school workouts for whoever is out of season. But, in a school that size, that's not a lot of kids because most of them are playing every sport. So
for you get to see your athletes 4 times a week, right? Are you doing anything other than weight room responsibilities? Are you just straight weight room responsibilities with athletes, or will you have any general population classes also?
So I only deal with performance athletes. As far as coaching on the field, I have no coaching responsibilities. My staff, they do. My head assistant is also the wide receiver coach, and he is the assistant track coach. And another one of my assistants is the linebackers coach, and he helps also with baseball. But so there's access classes. It gets pretty complicated. There's access classes that you see those twice a day, except for Monday, and those are just physical kids. And we kind of have a rotation where different coaches will coach them. So I might see the non-athletes once a week.
That's a really interesting rotation. I'm sure there's other people that relate to that, but man, that's a little bit tougher to follow and then be able to, even when you're thinking through it for yourself, I mean, to program out sometimes would be a little bit tough, wouldn't it?
Coach, it's a headache. It took, no joke, bro. It took me about a month before I even know what the heck was going on. Like I was like, okay, what do we have? Who's coming in? Like, what are we doing? I mean, it was a mess. Like, and luckily again, that's where, my head assistant, man, like he kind of held my hand and walked me through that. And I mean, I thank the Lord for him, man, because I was lost, man. Like, cause dude, I mean, y'all seen the chart. There was like 20,000 different colors on this chart, and this guy's going to this and this and that. I mean, I was like, how do these kids even know where to go? But once you're there for a little while, you start figuring it out and you understand it. So
there you go. So second semester, you're off to the races then.
I'm somewhat of a pro now. Yeah.
So you went into it a little bit about what you're doing with your athletes on certain days. You talked about a little bit about you're a total body guy. You like to superset, make sure you're working on work capacity, at least during the summer. Those were some of the things that you're talking about. Could you give us a rundown on your training philosophy / programming methodologies? And I know that's a really open-ended question, but some of the things that you just want to emphasize within your program, and maybe if somebody would ask you, are you a conjugate guy or triphasic, or what are you doing? Maybe the best answer for that type of question.
If someone asks me that is, I will use anything that I have to use to get done what I need to get done. So this the thing is, I prefer total body in season.
Mm-hmm.
When we are out of season, we would do an upper-lower split. And I found that to be more beneficial in the high school setting with younger athletes just because you can accumulate more volume, I guess, per half of the body. Because those kids are, when you're in the high school setting, they're just young, they're weak, they just haven't really been exposed to training. So out of season, I just prefer to do an upper-lower split. We only have about 40, 45 minutes, and I can just concentrate on pushing, pulling, core work, med ball work, whatever I need to do, and able to get that done in that 40 minutes. And, so out of season, we try to go 2 days a week upper, 2 days a week lower. But, I mean, my influences as far as my training goes, the guy that I came up under was Rob Rogers. Rob, I mean, he's been in this thing forever. I mean, he was at Baylor. He was at USC, Air Force. He used to be the head strength coach of the St. Louis Blues. We were doing things, in the late 90s, early 2000s that no one were doing. Rob is really close friends with Mike Boyle. I mean, they're literally like the same guy. We were doing a ton of unilateral work. We were doing a ton of dumbbell work, med ball throws, plyometrics. We were doing things that a lot of other teams were doing, just conjugate work. I remember, so when Rob left, we had a new strength coach come in, and he was a big conjugate guy, and so it's good though, because I got to experience it, But my feeling when I finished through it was I just didn't like the West Side principles it may be harsh. I just felt like there's more athletic things to do than just rotating board presses in and out and, partial range of motion squats off a box for athletes. That was just when it was all, that's just the way I felt. And I know I may offend some people, and I'm not trying to pigeonhole it. And I know there's a lot more to the conjugate method than that. Believe me, I get it. And I still incorporate a lot of those principles and concepts into my training now, as far as, hammering weak points and the upper back and the posterior chain. And I get all that. I guess if you look at it, I'm just more of I bench, I squat heavy, but I love unilateral work. I love plyometrics. I love med ball throws. I love dumbbells. I love using your body weight. Because twice a week, I would really like to incorporate some sort of, spin on the push-up variation, or some sort of spin on an inverted pull-up with a TRX. I mean, I have always prided myself in being creative. Because I think we all know a push is a pull. A push is a push, a pull is a pull. But you can do things to those to make them more creative, to just help with the buy-in of the kids and keep their attention, because they're not there to be a power lifter. They're not there to be a Olympic weightlifter. They're there to play their sport. They're putting their trust in you to make them a better athlete. But at the same time, we need to help them, mentally stay involved. And, I try to rotate supplemental exercises out every 2 to 3 weeks just for that reason. First week, we put something new in. We teach it, we hammer it. The second week, you got it. Third week, you're a pro at it. And then, boom, it's gone. But the concept is the same, coming week 4, but the exercise is different. It's just window dressing. Mm-hmm. But that little tweak, those little things, they keep the kids having fun. Oh, man, what do we got today? And to them, it's something totally different. But all we did was just put a little wax on that car and made it look new.
What is the style of getting the workouts to the athletes? How are you making that rotation? Are you doing something like Team Builder? Are you doing any type of software? Is it still just straight Excel and you're doing that stuff? And the reason I ask is, and I'm not trying to plug or anything. Team Builder sponsors us. I'm not trying to plug that way, but what I am trying to do is to figure out, some of the best ways that people can transition those exercises, the supplementary exercises every 2 to 3 weeks while keeping the other systems still rolling, right? The bigger lifts
right.
Still rolling.
So, all right, with my training philosophy is very simple. I don't overcomplicate anything. And my, what's the word you just used for it? Like software tracking, that kind of thing.
Yep.
It's very simple, man. Like literally, I just use Excel and I just plug in those numbers. That way I have them. As far as the rotation of supplemental stuff in, Man, it's my brain. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm not trying to come off arrogant at all. But like with this thing, I'm like Rain Man. I can throw something together like at the drop of a hat, and you would think that I just spent a month putting that together. It's just because the first 6, 7, 8 years of me doing this, I was diving in that thing so tough and learning, and not only in books or in ebooks or videos or lectures or DVDs, like me getting on the floor. Like I still try to train myself. I'm 40 years old now. You know, I had a knee reconstruction back in 2001, you know, but I still try to train myself as close to these athletes as I can. And I just think that's very important, because if you train the way they train, you feel the way they feel, like it helps you in your job because you kind of know the progressions and where to go. Or even if it's things that you can't do anymore, you remember, you can pull back on those experiences and you know. And so, like, as far as anything fancy, I don't. I use Excel. I just pop the workouts in. You know, I keep a data. I keep I track their numbers. I know what they can get. But man, I don't even necessarily use percentages anymore, because I try to break our group up. You know, if we have a group come in of 20 kids, we split that group up. We try to take the same kids every day. That way our coaches are in tune with those players. We know what they're capable of doing. We kind of use the RPE scale with those guys. So, you know, just because the sheet may say 1 doesn't mean it's all out max. I may tell my coaches, like, look, I want to try to get a good 90 to 95% single today. That's what I want. Watch it, coach it. If you don't like it, that's where they stop. And we've done that with the players here at the high school, and I did that in college, man. And the guys, they learn how to train better that way. You know, if I tell them, like, hey, today we're going to work up to a heavy triple, then what we do is we'll throw in X amount of ramp-up sets. We get them up to where we want to get them, and then what I call the money sets. There may be 2 or 3 money sets right there at the end. I mean, it's really basic. You know, you have to get in tune with your kids. I mean, you got to train them and you got to watch them. You know, it may not necessarily work if it's just you and, 30 kids by yourself, then I might pull out percentage charts. But if you can break it down to where it's just you and 5 to 10 kids, if you can use the RPE, scale and just know in your mind the rep scheme that you're wanting to hit and what you want it to look like, you can really make some strides with kids like that.
I like the ideas behind a lot of that and how you're implementing and the buy-in that you're going to get from your athletes when they know that you've got everything kind of already figured out, as far as the things that they're going to be doing and just the experience that you've had, that's where it comes down to, because there's so many programs that work out there, right? I'm just like, right. Just in general, there
Absolutely.
are.
Absolutely.
And our quest for, every strength coach really is how can we put this thing together? And that's why it's so fun. Nobody's came up with the elite program, or else everybody be doing it. That's
Coach, at the end of the day, man, just go work.
Yep.
If just go work, just go put the work in. You're going to get better. You can't cheat success, man. Just go work. It doesn't have to be the fanciest thing. And I know there's a lot of coaches that are a lot more sophisticated with their training than I am, but you just get them in there, you get them to buy in, you just build a good quality, strong foundation, man. And that thing is the sky is the limit, man.
I really like where you're going with that. The RPE stuff always intrigues me. I don't know if I have enough trust in at least my younger athletes to be able to figure some of that out, but I definitely see the value in being able to learn your athletes and your athletes kind of learn their bodies and all that type of stuff. Because if you want them to train well for the rest of their life, not just athletic performance, but just training well, it's going to take, not just percentages all the way through and not just, APRE type stuff. It's just going to be, sometimes we're going to work to a heavy double. We're going to work to a heavy single. What's it look
right.
like? So,
yeah, because not only that, but we both know, we've done it. Dude, I've hurt myself training off percentages before. Sometimes you're either going to get the percentages sometimes are either too light or you get buried. And, you look at that chart and you're like, well, man, I thought he could do, 4 reps at whatever percent. But if he's a strong guy, man, sometimes you just get buried. And if you're not very strong, sometimes they're just too light. And so that's why I went to to that scale, because I just know, like, look, guys, we've got 3 or 4 ramp up sets. This is kind of where I want you to be when we're on this first money set, because everybody's a little different. Let them get there how they want to get there, And at the end of the day, I mean, you get, 12, 15 extra reps at, good manageable weight, but you're building that foundation, right? Like, that's weight they can handle. Yeah, man, they feel good. Like, they understand it. Now, hell, maybe when they get by themselves, like on a Christmas break or, during summer at some point, like, they can help train themselves a little bit, I just think there's some buy-in to that, man, when you understand kind of what's going on. So
yeah. When you know your body a little bit more like that, it's a lot easier to avoid that injury, right? Instead of getting ramped up too fast, it's like working into it, making sure how you feel, and when everybody knows their good days, right? And then being able to recognize your bad days is a big deal too, and just being able, and that's probably the biggest downside to percentage work in general. I've switched to a little bit away from. When I was doing percentages, I ended up going to a range. So saying you could hit somewhere between 75 and 80% on this set,
Absolutely.
Just so that they had that area to work with. Yeah. Because not everybody feels the same, and your max out day could be way, way, way different than what you're working at that day.
Well, even what if you're in season, right? What if you're banged up, not feeling great, but you're still willing? Like, Coach, I want to squat. Like, I need to squat. I understand that. Mm-hmm. And if you're 190 pounds, well, you know what? What if he had 3 doubles and he's able to at least hit 3 doubles at 250 pounds, right? Like, that's a good day.
Yep.
Yeah, right. He's still squatting more than his body weight. I mean, that's still going to carry over for him. Like, I mean, it's just accumulation over the year, man. And so that's why I just went to that, because, man, there's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. Just give me what you got today.
Awesome stuff, Coach. So the namesake of the show is trying to make the big time where you're at, right? And I want to ask you that specifically. How are you making the big time? What would you say is something that's just setting you apart from not even comparatively, just something that you think you're just doing well?
One of the things I've always tried to do, I started it back when I was at Middle Tennessee, but, well, for one, a lot of mid-majors always look up to Boise State, right? Like, that's kind of the golden nugget there of mid-major football, and so I was like, I was at Middle Tennessee. That's where I played. That's my alma mater. I wanted to make, when I was there, I wanted to make that place like the Boise State. I wanted to make that the best mid-major, strength and conditioning program that we could make it. And one thing I've always tried to do is I try to celebrate my players on social media. I'm not boasting myself. I'm trying to celebrate my kids on there, because that's the era and generation that we're in. They love that, right? And they're going to retweet it, and they're going to post it, and they're going to show their family. They're going to show their girlfriend, whoever, mom and dad, they're on there retweeting it. Like, so I like celebrating what they're doing. And one of the things when we were there, in middle was like, I just wanted, the thing to make it big time was we knocked off a lot of Power 5 teams in my tenure there. And it's because I think we just made those kids believe there was no difference between them and the guy they were about to line up against. And I said this on another podcast, like, I've always preached bow down to no logo. And I've always taken that approach as a coach. Like, just because your logo may be Power 5 doesn't mean it's better than me. Like, I know a lot of damn good strength coaches that are in, small, Division IIs and NAIAs and they're at high schools that are better than some of these guys, parading around at big time programs. I know that for a fact. And that's just one of the things that we always try to do. We always try to do the best we could as far as supplements go. When I was at Middle Tennessee, our budget wasn't huge, but you know what? We would try to get peanut butter and jelly. We would get, go to the supplement store and try to get different protein powder varieties. We tried to get granola bar varieties. We just try to create variety through the supplement bar. We fought like heck. And in 2013, 14, we were able to renovate the weight room there. Anytime you can get new equipment, do something, new workout gear, try to pump up the supplement bar, any of that stuff, man, like, just make those kids feel like they are the guys at the big schools, I think goes a long way. I train a lot of professional guys, and I try to always get those guys to come back and train wherever I'm at. And that way the kids can see them. And, that shows them like, what, hey, I feel good. Like, I'm doing the same thing that all-pro safety's doing, I'm doing the same thing as that guy that I saw make a sack on Sunday doing. And I just always try to preach that to them guys. Like, those pro guys are no different than you. They were just like you. They were, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, just like you are. They had to develop to get to where they are now. But you know what? They did it. And that's what I always just try to preach, man. This, I try to post a ton of stuff on social media. I try to get those kids out there, get them exposure. I try to, this private school I'm at right now, I mean, it is big time, coach. I mean, there ain't nothing else I could do as far as supplements or making the place look much better. I mean, it's already nice before I got there. But the thing I've tried to do at the high school level is I really try to promote my kids on social media, just because they enjoy it. The community enjoys it. So that's what I try to do.
I like that angle. I was just talking to a coach about a week ago now, and what they were talking about is all the parents start to buy into that program too, and they trust you more because they get to see what you're doing with their kids.
I never even thought about that. That's a good point. They literally get to see what you're doing. It's a bird's eye view of what you're doing.
Yes,
absolutely. I never even thought of that from that perspective.
And I hadn't even thought about all the benefits of doing it. But man, there is a lot to be said about just being able to parade around what those kids are doing, because they are putting in that hard work.
Damn right, man.
Yeah, it's like throwing in some buys and tries at the end of the workout, man. It's throwing them the bone just to make sure that we do appreciate everything that you're doing. This is going to be beneficial for your life. That's great
Coach,
stuff.
I've always said, man, like you catch more flies with honey, right? Like there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with throwing in some buys and tries. The overly functional guy is going to throw his nose up at that, and he's going to act like he doesn't have time with that because he needs to go blow through a straw or a balloon. Like, bro, get out of here with that. Like, there is nothing wrong. If that kid gave you what you asked for as far as like unilateral work or core bracing, or, if you're working a posterior shoulder and he's retracting his scaps the way he's supposed to, blah, 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 you can't reward them with a little something they want, because those mirror muscles, those buys and tries, typically you see changes in those things in 2 to 4 weeks. There's no fat there. They're just hanging off the side of your body. You're going to see changes there before you see anything else. And that's going to create buy-in for you. We both know and understand buys and tries do absolutely jack squat as far as playing a sport. But you know what? It gives that kid a mental edge. It makes him feel good about what he's doing. Mm-hmm. It's going to make the meathead football coach be like, yeah, look at my guys over here. It makes him feel a little bit better at what you're doing. Little Susie up the street, when she goes, ooh, Tommy, you look good. Like, that's going to give him buy-in to what he's doing. Like, she doesn't know that, oh, man, little Johnny over here can single leg squat 225. Like, she don't know that. She don't care. But we care. His performance on Friday night or Saturday cares. But we have to make sure you have to fill all the buckets, man, because it's a big picture. It's a big spectrum. Like, I was at the same place for 15 years, man. Like, that's hard to do, especially in college athletics. And I did that because you have to just be well-versed. Don't be afraid to do the buys and tries and blow them guys out and make them feel good. Because if you do that, they will give you what you need in return.
Just another perspective with that. There are few people that train that have small arms, and just in general, right? So like, it's another perspective. It's like another team sees your athletes walk up and they're developed. They're like, heck yeah. It's like, that's crazy. And it is a big deal for high school athletes.
Just because a guy's the starting linebacker or he's the starting power forward doesn't mean he's the most confident guy on that other team. Mm-hmm. And you know what? There's a good chance there's some cowards on that other team. And if you physically look the part, you may have him spooked before the game even starts. And then you go put a hat on a hat. You may have that boy whooped for the rest of the game before we even started.
Very good.
And there's nothing wrong with doing it, man. There's nothing wrong with it.
So, Coach, you've hit on a lot of stuff, and you talk about being at one place for 15 years, and that's truly making the big time where you're at, right? And you started a new journey here. There's got to be learning that goes along. with the prior 15 years, but now being at the high school level, what are some of your favorite professional development resources that you look to? Maybe some people that you reach out to. How do you just learn day to day?
So, a lot of times I think, years ago, again, like when you're at the same place, people just think, oh, you're just a homer, you're a lifer, they're just keeping you there because whatever, you're just a good old boy. Well, no, like I spent about $1,000 a year on my education out of my own pocket. When I was younger and wasn't making much money, I was personal training kid on the side to pay for that development. I will say this, I heard someone said this years and years ago, maybe it was Mike Boyle, but, and I've always held on to that was when you're first starting off, know the difference between a chef and a cook, right? A cook can read a recipe and make that food taste good, but that's not his recipe. A chef puts things together. He puts that meal together. And I think when you first start off, you have to understand that you're a cook, right? And you need to find good resources and good people to learn from. And again, one of the most valuable things you can do, man, I think I heard Dave Tate say this years ago as well, and it's the truth. Get under the bar. Go experience things for yourself. Try things. Don't just lay down and bench every day. Put spin on things. You will learn so much. But I will say some of the best resources I had, was the Functional Strength Coach series by Mike Boyle. Again, I understood his programming because him and, my mentor were very close and similar. But I think Mike Boyle is one of the greatest minds in this profession because I know he can go right and far left sometimes, and I get that, but he does a really good job of taking complicated things and regurgitating them to coaches in a simple way that we can understand it. And I've always loved that and tried to mimic that about him within my training. But the Functional Strength Coach series, I know he's had several of them out, but I think it was part 2. It's 6-disc set. That thing was really good. His second book, I cannot remember what it's called. It's like Functional Training or Advances in Functional Strength Training. That book, I literally read that from page 1 to page 300 in a weekend. It was a clean, easy read. That is still one of the best books that I've ever had. Other than that, I watch, now Instagram and YouTube and that kind of thing, you're exposed to what everyone's doing. And, I may get on there and see something you're doing, coach, and be like, you know what? I like that. And I'm going to do this to it and I'm going to make it my own. Mm-hmm. And I try to get on Instagram. I watch the videos of training videos, YouTube videos, but, Joe DeFranco, his stuff, back in the day, I really enjoyed it. A lot of the West Side stuff. There were things at Louis, at the principles, you get in there and read and, you look up some new waves and that kind of thing. I loved all that old stuff. But, Al Vermeil, man, I got to listen to him speak in person several times, over the last 20 years, man. He was worth his weight in gold, man. Al Miller, all those old guys, I love their stuff. But I will say if you're a young strength coach, man, and you're just trying to put a program together, if you just go read Mike Boyle stuff, he'll lead you in the right direction, man, and sprinkle a little bit of Joe DeFranco on top of that. You'll have yourself a good program.
I follow pretty closely to what Joe talks about, Joe DeFranco's stuff for the West Side for Skinny Bastards every summer. And I absolutely love it because
absolutely.
My freshman year at Northwest Missouri State, my strength coach, Joe Quinlan, that's what he was doing with his developmental guys, and holy cow, it was unreal. And now I bring it back, and I love having that split. And so it's great. Some of the things that you're talking about that way, Mike Boyle stuff, man. I listened to him speak last year at the National High School Strength Coaches Association's conference, and man, holy cow, he makes you think, and that's what I like.
He does.
I really enjoy that.
And I agree. He doesn't believe in bilateral squatting and all that, and I get that. And that's him, and mm-hmm. That's fine. But don't turn the TV off just because of one bad message that may be a bad message to you, right? If you don't agree with everything he says, that's fine. But I promise you, 70, 80% of the things that he's saying are true And, that's his true life lived experiences that he has lived and he's learned from, or he's went and listened to someone that he feels is smarter than him, and he's bringing it back for everybody else to learn. So,
yeah.
I really like that. Like I said, Joe DeFranco stuff, that's all it is a spinoff of like the weak point training from the West Side Principles. I mean, man, just hammering volume. I think that's what a lot of people like. All that is like a lot of that, the volume training is just old bodybuilding training, right? Where I think some of that gets a bad rap. But if you're small and weak, you need to accumulate volume to grow, period, right? I think we understand that. So that's where I was saying earlier, like my toolbox is bodybuilding and powerlifting and Olympic lifting and, unilateral training and whatever, man. I will use and steal anything I have to get done what I need to get done. Like, I'm not married to anything.
That's all great stuff, Coach. I appreciate all the stuff that you throw out there because it makes me think. You're just talking about your RPE stuff and just being able to use everything. I think that's what makes a good coach. And that's because, Coach, I'll go do a single leg RDL, and then I might stick you on a leg press and blow out a set of 20. Like, I don't care. Like, because I can get my volume on the lower body. If I have to use a leg press, that's a lot safer than trying to hit a set of 20 with a barbell back squat. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to accumulate that volume however I got to get it, right? So I'm just not married to anything, man. There's a place and time for any training that's out there. So we're coming to the end here, and I like to wrap these shows up with 5 questions for people to kind of get to know you more, and then you have the opportunity at the end of those to also tell people how to reach out to you, maybe the best ways to do that. Are you ready for these 5 questions?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right. Coach, what's your favorite book?
My favorite book would have to be Advances in Strength Training by Mike Boyle.
All right. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm also gonna have to check out the Part 2 6 disc series, the functional strength coach that you're talking about. I'm gonna try to find that too.
It's several years old now, Coach, but it's worth its money. I promise you that.
All right, sounds good. All right, what about a person that's influenced you the most?
Personally, would be my grandfather. I just, we didn't grow up with much, and he was one of the only male figures I had in my life that wasn't afraid to discipline you, but also tell you he loved you, kiss you on the head, but he'd also smack you on the back if he needed to. Professionally, I would have to say, as far as strength training goes, Rob Rogers had the biggest influence on me as far as strength training. But as far as coaching, I would have to, it's a split, but man, Kermit Davis, who's the head coach of Ole Miss right now, basketball, I just love the way he came with grit and fire every single day, man. He just treated everybody the same. You either get it done or you didn't.
Great. I like how you separated all those out into different areas of your life. Those are all great people. How about your favorite quote?
Favorite quote? There's one coach that we used to have. I remember he told me one time, it was 2 of them, but one of them was like, the old saying that, Rome wasn't built in a day, but he said it sure the hell burnt down in one.
I think that can apply to strength and conditioning pretty quick, don't you think?
Absolutely, right? I mean, absolutely.
All right, so if you have 15 minutes to train, what are you doing? You yourself.
Me, myself, 15 minutes to train. Well, it depends. If I don't feel like warming up because I'm 40 years old and I have to actually warm up now, then I would try to do what we call the arm farm. Buys and tries, get a good sweat. But if I'm not being lazy and I know I only got 15 minutes, there's a power clean front squat wave that I love. You go 3 rounds, you go 3 power cleans, 3 front squat. Then you go 2 power clean, 2 front squat, 1 and 1, and then you wave back up to 3s, 2s, 1, 3s, 2s, 1s. You knock that whole thing out in 15 minutes.
And probably breaking a pretty good sweat with that too, huh?
Oh, yeah, you're lathered up pretty good.
All right, last question here, Coach. Small school coach who's killing it and deserves a shout out.
Let's see here. I would have to say, you know what, man? One of the things I really appreciate about my right-hand man, Nick Johnson, he's at a high school. He wears a lot of different hats, but the one thing he does is he pours into those kids. He's an assistant track coach. He's a wide receiver coach. But, man, he loves those kids. He pours into those kids. And I just, again, I came into that job. He dropped his ego, had no ego. He's been great right beside me. I mean, he's done a great job, man. He's a dang good speed coach as well. He's one of the best I've been around as far as that goes, and so I just want to make sure I give him a shout out.
That's great. I'm going to have him on sometime then, huh?
Yeah, man, he's great. He's a talker now. He's a talker, so he'll fill it up for you.
Perfect. All right, Coach, if somebody wants to talk to you, get a hold of you, ask you more questions, what's the best way to reach you?
Either on my Twitter, just at Jason Spray, or on Instagram at Jason Spray.
Perfect. I'll also have that linked up in the show notes. Anything else, Coach? Anything else that you want to leave the listeners with? Anything that just you want to make sure that they know?
First off, just always remember, man, like we all get to where we are because someone else helped us. Don't ever think. I mean, I get it a lot. I consider myself kind of self-made, but none of us are truly self-made. Somebody has always helped you along the way. They didn't have to, but they saw something in you to give you a break, to get you to where you are. Every head coach that ever believed in me, just like I said, I appreciate them. But one thing is these kids, just remember these high school kids, they're not just little adults. I mean, they are young kids. Slow cook it. Take your time with them, teach them the foundations, and they'll be ready to roll.
Thank you, Coach, so much for taking the time. You're the man. It was a very good show. I appreciate everything that you're making me think about now.
Well, man, again, I appreciate what you're doing. I love to get on and just talk shop, and I'd love to try to pick your brain one day off the show and see what you're doing because, man, we can learn from everybody. And the profession needs more things like this, and I appreciate everything you're doing.
All right, Coach. You have a good night.
You too. Thank you.